This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of Doc and Jock. It's podcasting time, baby. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, as always, my cousin Adam, the Jock Strozinski. In what is usually my favorite broadcast of the year, it's Michigan State Week. Stay tuned for the second half of the podcast. We're going to break it all down, give our impressions. One of the biggest contests of all time, baby. 2 top 10 NCAA Big Ten teams are going to battle in East Lansing. Got some news on that on the front for the podcast, which is great news for me. It's going to be great. We're going to talk about the Detroit Lions. It's such a great time, man, because this is the best time of the sports calendar, and we're going to break it all down. So it's good times, man. But I do want to start with this because I thought that you revealed something really interesting in that, you went dark on us during wrestling. And for those that don't know, Adam and I do a wrestling podcast every Friday or Saturday. It's called the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. And all of a sudden, something was going on, something big was going on, and we're like, Adam's not replying. And I'm like, well, of course he died. Something happened. Either he's off on some, off on the side of the road dead, or he did something bad. But he's like, no, sorry, guys. Adam said, I went and I watched the James Bond movie, and I had just the weirdest reaction because I'm a big Bond fan, so I don't care if it's 3 hours, 3.5 hours, 4 hours. I love the action. I love the intrigue. I know they get formulaic, and my favorite was obviously Sean Connery because I was a big fan of all the movies that he was part of. But it seemed like you had an interesting review. Hit me with it real fast. The latest and the greatest Daniel Craig finale as James Bond maybe didn't hit you the right way.
So I'm just like you. I love James Bond. As a kid, I wanted to be James Bond. I took some of my woman philandering from James Bond. Some of the stuff that I've watched Sean Connery do because he was my favorite James Bond. I'm not sure if Daniel Craig has replaced him or not because I think Daniel Craig has been absolutely fantastic as James Bond. But I would take little things from James Bond and use them to try to pick up the ladies. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it wouldn't. But I absolutely love James Bond. I love all the movies. I have all the movies. I've seen all the movies. I've seen most of them 1,001 times. I went and seen the most recent one, and it was about 3 hours long. And during the course of that 3 hour long movie, you and Kenny messaged about 50 times, which was great. I got done. I looked at my phone, and I was like 50 some odd messages, and I was like, "What were they doing?" Anyways, it was weird, man, because James Bond films are formulaic. It's very simple. There's usually the hot chick who's bad. There's the less than hot chick who's good, who he usually ends up with sleeping when the whole thing is said and done with. There's usually a big explosion. There's always a car scene. It's him basically saving the world and protecting against some evil maniacal guy. And there's usually a pretty awesome fight, and if the main bad guy is not the awesome fight, there's usually a sub boss who is the where the awesome fight takes place. In this one, I don't know if I've ever liked a movie and hated a movie as much as I did this one. I thought it was a really good movie. Okay, so let's start there. I thought it was a good movie. It was, for a James Bond film, it was like the most un-James Bond movie you would ever go see ever in your entire life. It was frustrating though because even though it was a really good movie, had a good plot, there was some emotional tugging at the heartstrings. It was a lot of good action. It was Daniel Craig portraying James Bond. It just wasn't a James Bond movie. And when I left the movie, I drove home and I was talking to Alyssa about it, and she knows I'm a huge James Bond fanatic. And I just bitched to her for 30 some odd minutes on the way home. Wow. And then I went to my dad's house on Saturday to help him put a sink in. And I just bitched about it to him for the 45 minutes we were working on a sink. And it's just, like I said, the best way I can describe it, it is the most un-James Bond movie you will ever see. And I don't want to give any of it away if anybody wants to go see it. It doesn't follow the formula, which you might be a fan of. I definitely was not. In the end, I don't. If I say too much, I'll ruin it for you. So go see it. Let me know.
Okay.
Tweet at me at Adamar STROZ. Let me know what you think of it, because I thought it was the most un-James Bond movie ever. Now, I'm not saying it was a horrible movie. I'm just saying for a James Bond movie, this was probably one of my least favorite James Bond movies. That being said, I thought it was still a really good movie. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give it a 7, 7.5.
See, absolutely. For me, it peaked at Goldfinger. I mean, I could watch that movie literally 1,000 times on a loop. If there was one movie that, if you said to me, you could only watch one film, it's Goldfinger with Odd Job and taking the statue off, and then he getting captured, and the gold, near his balls. And then it's the most famous line ever of all time. He's like, I must be dreaming, when she says, hi, my name is Pussy Galore. And you're like, wait a minute, did they just say that? When I play,
they just said that.
You're like, and the best line is the way he delivers it, because he looks at it and he goes, I must be dreaming. It's like, no, she said that, and it's great. And, we wouldn't want to keep him waiting. And it was so great. The villain was perfect. It is the embodiment of a bad guy movie, and especially the end scene where he's in the gold vault and he's in Fort Knox, and it's just the greatest movie of all time. That's how I got into it. So yeah, obviously with the incarnations of the James Bond character, Daniel Craig, I think, has held his own in regards to that, in the movies and things like that. I'm curious to see who's next, if it's going to be Idris Elba or somebody else. There's a lot of names being bantied about. So I'm fascinated to see who the next ones are going to be. But yeah, there were some bad ones after Sean Connery, but it was really interesting to see.
Did you like Roger Moore as James Bond?
I thought it was okay. He embodied kind of what it is, but it was missing something.
For me, Sean Connery was one of the best. For me, it's like Sean Connery. He's like the image. When you think of James Bond, you think of Sean Connery with his hair slicked back, smoking a cigarette, with his chin down, looking up at you, and basically talking some sweet nothings to a lady.
Exactly.
That is James Bond. That is what the character looks like when you think of him.
Yep.
I thought Roger Moore did a really good job. I think Daniel Craig is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Here's my power rankings. 1, obviously, Sean Connery. 2, I was a fan of Timothy Dalton's too. The Living Daylights.
Did you really?
Yes,
I like the worst.
No, I love The Living Daylights and License to Kill. I know they weren't the greatest, and I know people don't like him, but I thought he did a great job. Then 3, I thought was Daniel Craig. 4, Pierce Brosnan. 5, George Lazenby, and that's the way I rank it. I like Timothy Dalton. Maybe I'm a little bit jaded. I thought because I was at that time in 1989, 90, I was 11, 12, so you get a little bit of that swagger in License to Kill. So, but Roger Moore's were good. For Your Eyes Only, Octopussy was great. A View to a Kill. Pierce Brosnan, like I said, was okay with GoldenEye, but I think he kind of faded with his other 3. And then Daniel Craig.
I was going to say GoldenEye was incredible. GoldenEye was a great reintroduction to the whole Bond character.
Yes.
And Pierce Brosnan did a fantastic job with GoldenEye. After that, the next couple were very subpar.
Exactly. And Daniel Craig started off great too with Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. I thought were really great. And then kind of Skyfall, Spectre kind of faded off, and I think it kind of tailed off, with the new way in which it was done in the 2010s. But hey, man, he's been doing it since 2006, bro. That's how long he's held that title for now. Held the reign of James Bond.
That's crazy, right?
Right? That is literally crazy. So I'm curious to see where this goes. I got the box set of all the movies, I think, before Daniel Craig. So can't wait to see how it progresses moving forward and how the James Bond franchise pushes along. All right, we got to talk about it. It was the reunion of all reunions. The Detroit Lions go out to L.A., and Matthew Stafford, everybody was planning this trip. I think everybody had this date marked on the calendar, and it kind of came and went, and everything kind of went down the way it was kind of supposed to, except for the final score. But I do, outside of the football game, which we're going to break down in a second, I'm curious because I'm really fascinated that many people donned the number 9 jersey and went out to L.A. and supported Stafford. Because of the fact he left, the manner in which he didn't have that much success in regards to big-time playoff wins. Credit to Lions fans, man. They supported Matthew Stafford in his home stadium at SoFi, and the Lions fans went out there to see him perform well against the Detroit Lions. And while I don't personally ascribe to that kind of philosophy, I cut him off the second he walks into Sheila's office and goes, hey, I'm done. I'm done. Okay, good. You're gone. You've moved on. You cut the cord. You're not a Detroit Lions player anymore, so we move on. And especially with the trade that happened, the better the Lions do in the draft, the happier I am. So the more that the Rams win, the worse off it is for the Lions.
Yeah, to me, it was crazy to see that many Detroit Lions fans in attendance. And look, I knew a bunch of people going there even. I had a group of friends that were about 7 or 8 deep that went out there for this game specifically. B, who I do a podcast with on Fridays, he went out there with a couple of guys. So it really seemed like the Detroit Lions sport fan went to LA and either A, supported Matt Stafford or showed up to support their team. I was blown away at how they kind of took over that stadium. And I guess we probably shouldn't be that shocked because it is LA, right? I mean, that stadium, don't the Rams share that stadium with the Chargers?
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know why we should be so shocked by all of this, but it was cool to see that many Detroit jerseys. I was blown away. It's almost like I feel like Detroit Lions fans almost have buyer's remorse right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you traded him away. You seen what the other side was like. The other side is Jared Goff. In my estimation, he is QB 34 in the league. There's only 32 teams. There's probably 2 backups who are better than him. So he's QB 34 in my estimation. And now you're upset with it. You're sad about it. You're mad about it because you've got Jared Goff. And you see what Matt Stafford's over there doing in LA. And to be honest with you, I thought his performance was typical Matt Stafford. It was everything that you ever seen him do as a Detroit Lion. It wasn't anything fancy, wasn't anything spectacular. There was no Midas touch where he turned everything gold. Speaking of Goldfinger, there was none of that. It was just a regular Matt Stafford game. Couple interceptions, couple touchdowns, a couple scrambling plays where he made them look miraculous when he would throw a dime pass. You had all of that. That's what you got on Sunday. There should be nothing. You shouldn't be upset about this. Like, this is what you've had for years here in Detroit. I think everybody is so irritated and so peeved off by watching Stafford have this success in LA. Mind you, he's got a pretty good team around him. He's got a really good defense. He's got a pretty decent offensive line, and he's got some weapons. Cooper Kupp is pretty amazing for a slot receiver, right? Robert Woods, he's pretty good when they get him the ball. So, and on top of that, you got a pretty decent running back in Henderson. So you've got pieces over there. That's never what he really had here. And whether it was his fault, whether it was the organization's fault, whether it was whoever's fault it was, it just didn't work here. Don't be upset. Don't be mad because you're not going to see the dividends of this for a couple of years. You're not seeing the dividends now. Like Jared Goff, QB 34. He's not the end game. He's here for this season. He's here for next season. And then you start to see the dividends. And at that point, I think you can do this accurate assessment of what this trade was and whether you're really that upset that Matt Stafford had to go away. For right now, though, I think fans need to kind of maybe quell it, bring it back a little bit, and just kind of look towards a brighter day. And, you can think what you want to think about Dan Campbell. You can think about what you want to think with Brad Holmes. But I'm excited for what the future holds for this team because you do get to see some guys going out there making plays. And it's my hope that Brad Holmes gets it right in the draft and that Dan Campbell turns out to be a pretty good coach. And that's a lot of eggs in one basket, but I'm willing to try it. I'm willing to see what fruit it bears because you weren't going to go anywhere with Matt Stafford. It was going to be a lot of the same old same. They were going to try to build pieces around him or throw something around him and hope it works. It probably wouldn't have. So I'm okay with it. And I get where the fans are, but I don't think they should be all that upset.
See, the weekend started off a little bit jaded for me because I get it, obviously, tangibly. The general manager should go out and scout college football players. But to hear that Brad Holmes was in the Rose Bowl checking out Kayvon Thibodeau, I just thought that, man, you guys are already resigned to the fact you're going to get the number 1 pick. Everyone knows consensus this.
Well, come on. Look, you know you're finishing in the top 5. And Kayvon Thibodeau is supposed to be a top 5 player. So you're just doing double duty. That's all. Come on.
I understand, but it just kind of hits home that, man, Stafford's got everything going well. People are paying money out of their ass to go to LA, and that shit ain't cheap, dude. It's a $60 Uber ride. I see his thing. He gave up poker, not gambling as much, so he could scrimp and save to go give it to Matthew Stafford. I mean, come on. If Matthew Stafford saw little B on the road there, he wouldn't give him a nickel. He would just be like, oh my God, because maybe I'm now jaded because of the fact that Tom Brady, which I thought was really, really a little bit of a diss, went on with the Manning cast and was talking about the fan. And he was like, "Oh my God, the fan gave up all the leverage, and I got to give it away cheap just by giving him a Bitcoin." And you're like, "Man, you said that publicly? Okay, you could say that to your boys, but you don't say that out in public." My God, it's like, do they really think that way of us? But maybe Matthew's a little more genuine, and he said all the right things and things like that. But for the Lions, on the other side of it, holy cow, cuz I was definitely impressed that they were at least able and willing to call some trick plays, and they were able to execute. So you start the game off, you get a touchdown, DeAndre Swift with a great run. Jared Goff threw a fastball to DeAndre Swift, and he's scampering 63 yards. And then you run the onside kick, which was beautiful. Beautiful bounce, absolutely executed perfectly. Now, of course, you don't get a first down, and the drive stalls out. But then you got Jack Fox, throwing a fake punt. That was unbelievable.
What did you make of Jack Fox's throw?
Perfect.
To me, I was like, oh, you're QB 31 here. we could possibly use you as a quarterback if we need be.
So, and that's of course the way it went, is that the Lions offense after the first quarter stalled, and you saw the vast difference in offenses from what Matthew Stafford was able to accomplish with Cooper Kupp and Henderson and Robert Woods and Van Jefferson. Oh, my God. And the part that's crazy is that the second that Stafford saw Darryl Worley get out there after Parker had to leave the field, boom, targeted, boom, done, and that's a wrap. So it was basically like ripping the scab. It's like Stafford knew right away that's the weakness in their defense, and boom, targeted Worley, and the Lions were then, they were never able to come back, and then Goff throws the interception, and it's a wrap and things like that. So Dan Campbell's aggressive, great. The part that I guess pissed me off the most was, how many fourth down plays are you going to jack up before you get it right? Again, he comes out and he says, "Oh, I should have huddled. I should have probably had it organized better," and things like that. You can't have that. You got to have, after 8 weeks, at least a semblance of, yeah, we're going to go down swinging. Yeah, we're going to try this, but you can't have multiple fourth downs where in multiple weeks where you look a little disjointed and disorganized and you don't get the first down. So it was disappointing there, but nobody expected the Lions to win. They competed. You get credit for that. They covered the massive 16.5-point spread, and at least for an afternoon, many people just walked away saying, okay, we didn't get our asses beat. We competed. It was a professional football game, and we weren't embarrassed on the national stage there. And in the biggest game for the Lions, they played to the best of their capability, and you just saw the vast difference in talent. And you wish the Rams luck moving forward, and you hope along the way the Lions do continue to build upon the momentum of, hey, we're playing hard for this coach, and you just got to you just walk away saying, okay, we got to get a lot better talent across the board. And it sucks too, because everybody said it. This is a tank year. You put out wide receivers that are not professional grade, and unfortunately, Jared Goff is facing the consequences. It's an offense that's not going to be that explosive. 20 points plus is going to be a luxury. And for the past few weeks, they've barely scraped 20 points, and that's just the way it is. It's tough to watch, but it is what it is. A 28-19 loss, to fall to 0-7.
I want to go back to something that you said, and it was about Dan Campbell and his fourth down play calling. To me, it's more of a personnel issue in realizing what you have on the field and knowing their strengths, knowing their weaknesses, and putting them into a position to make a play. You need that play. You have to have that play. At that moment, they needed that play. And you let them go hurry up. And Jared Goff goes on a radio station and basically says, yeah, I've got the ability to audible out of that. I've got the ability to check into something else, but I stuck with it. I think Jared Goff is just as much to blame as Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell's got to do a better job of knowing who he's got on the field, what's going on, and how it's going, how the game is trending, and what at that exact moment, you need your best play possible. And you can't tell me that was their best play that they had.
No, absolutely not.
Jared Goff, in the same respect, has to know, look, this isn't our best play. We need this play. Let's slow this down. Let's check into something different. To me, it's frustrating because the guys who control the game, at certain points, I feel like the moments just get a little bit too big for them. And I'm hoping as Dan Campbell kind of continues along here, that gets ironed out. I don't know if it ever gets fixed for Jared Goff. And I don't mean to bag on him because it really sounds like I'm going hard at him in this podcast because I think he's a fantastic guy. I just don't think he's very good at his job. It's similar to me at work. I think people think I'm a fantastic guy, but I'm just not very good at my job. And I get it. I think he's in the same boat. He's just not very good at his job.
You admitted on air on this podcast that you're the Jared Goff of your work?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I'm not very good at what I do. Like I get it. Like I understand. Like I'm going through additional coaching right now at work because I'm so bad at my job. So I understand. But it's one of those things where he's been a professional quarterback now for how many years? This is it's like 6th season. At some point, I need to see a little bit more from him. And I think he has basically hit his crescendo. He's on the downside of his career at a very young age. That is frustrating as a fan to watch. All right. Dan Campbell is still learning. And I think Dan Campbell, through basically 7 games this year, you've seen a lot of growth. You've seen him make big mistakes one week, come back the next week and correct those, adjust those. I don't think he's lost his locker room, which is very important. Okay. It's hugely important because at a certain point, guys are going to check out and start making vacation plans. That hasn't happened yet. And you're 0-7. You're staring down a bye week and you might not have a victory. That's a big deal. All right. But at a certain point, you've got to realize what is actually taking place in the game. And if you can't, you need to lean on your quarterback, who you have to trust to be able to do that. And Jared Goff doesn't necessarily deserve that trust right now. And to me, that is frustrating. And I think that is a sad state of affairs. Similar to all this talk that I hear about with Lions fans who were excited that, yeah, they covered. Yeah, they went out there, they played a pretty good game. Mind you, they had to throw every trick play in the book to just keep that game close. And yeah, you had a shot at the end, but again, your quarterback let you down when he had a play that just kind of unfolded the wrong way because, again, you've got young players in there making big mistakes. You're counting on them to make big plays, and it's just not happening. So Goff ends up forcing a pass, ends up getting turned over. Jalen Ramsey takes it back the other way, gets it out to the 35-yard line. You can't have that. And I take no solace in a moral victory. Like that's not a thing here. This is the one sport where I think you and I both agree you're about as good as your record says you are. Yeah, there are times where you might look pretty good in a loss, and the Lions have had that. They've looked pretty good in losses. This is one of those games where they look pretty good in a loss. That being said, I don't want to hear about how you kept it close and how you tried really hard. This was another one of those games where you possibly could have and should have won. And really and truly, if we really boil it down, it comes down to one interception. This is what it seems like this year. And don't be surprised if we get to week 17 and you and I are sitting there talking. We're like, man, another one of these. Oh, my God. Just another turnover by Goff, another bad play. They should have won this. Like, don't be surprised if that happens in week 17 because that seems to be what the tone of this season is. And I don't know how you fix that. I don't know how you correct that. I don't even know if you can correct that. To me, again, goes back to your quarterback being quarterback 34 in the league. He's just not very good, and that is frustrating to me. But I said something earlier when I was just rambling. I feel like it's very important that this team gets a win before the bye week.
They need
and
it.
I don't know if you think I'm crazy, and I don't know if other people think I'm nuts either. But this season, being 0-7, it's almost like it's teetering, waiting for that win to happen. And I feel like the locker room needs it. I feel like the coaching staff needs it. I feel like they need it before the bye week. You go to the bye week and you're 0-8 and your schedule gets much more difficult the rest of the way. It becomes really hard to sell your message as a coach. I think it's important for this coaching staff. It's important for Dan Campbell to get a win this week. This might be the most important week of the season, and I'm not trying to fluff this up at all. This game right here against the Eagles might be make or break for Dan Campbell and basically his coaching tenure. Could you imagine if he goes 0-8, and you imagine if these guys start tuning him out right when week 10 starts? How do you recover from that? I don't know if you do. So I feel like this week, it's incredibly important for Dan Campbell to get a W, for the Lions to get a W, and basically to help keep his message flowing to these guys. Am I crazy?
No, it's absolutely it's at this point in time, you're already starting to see a sprinkle among the other sites as well that cover the Lions: draft talk, mock drafts, trades, buying, selling. We're talking about everything but what the players are doing and saying. At this point in time, I think the interest has basically shifted already to the 2022 offseason, and that's what you're trying to avoid, at least in regards to this program going forward. And here's the thing I think people will, a reason why I think they're going to perform. It's Chris Spielman Day. I think a lot of fans are going to want to go to honor number 54. I think that even though, the product on the field in regards to the current product is not the best, to go honor Chris Spielman will be nice. So give the fans something to cheer for. And cause each and every game that I've attended this year, the crowd has booed the Lions off the field by halftime. And there's been a lot of boos. Attendance is down, and the Lions need something to kind of get the fans back in order. So a win would be great. It's against the Eagles. They just got recently torched by Derek Carr. I think he went 31-34, and he was able to pick apart the secondary. They're a little bit in flux. A little bit of talk whispers that maybe the defensive coordinator over there is not getting the job done, so maybe he's on the way out. Nick Sirianni is trying to build his culture there. Darius Slay and Jalen Hurts are the two best players on the roster right now. So we'll see. I don't see it. I see potentially the Detroit Lions fading because when you don't have a lot of talent, you just are counting on the other team to make mistakes, and you're counting on yourself to just rise up off the mat one more time. So it's going to be close. I wouldn't be surprised if they win, but I just think that the Eagles are going to be looking to get their season right back on track, and they're going to try just as hard to get to 3-5 and to not have their. You don't want to be the Lions' first victory, that's for sure. So that's kind of how I see it.
This is kind of the thing. Like, have you seen any of the Eagles games this year?
Yeah, they're not good. Oh my god.
No, they're not. They're horrible. That offense looks like it's all sorts of out of whack. I'm not 100% sure what's going on with the defense. You realize like Jalen Hurts, I think, accounts for approximately 70% of the yards for that offense. Like, it's nuts. He's their best running back, and he's obviously their quarterback. The only thing he's not doing is he's not able to throw the ball up in the air, run and catch it, and then score the touchdown himself. But don't be surprised if he does that this week against your Detroit Lions. So it's nuts. These are two really bad teams. The only difference is I think the Eagles have much more talent than Detroit does. You already went through and you named a couple of guys. Darius Slay, obviously a stud. You know him from playing here in Detroit. Jalen Hurts, stud. You've got Dallas Goedert, stud. You've got a couple of wide receivers who are obviously much better than what you've got going on here.
What are the odds Devonta Smith lights up the Lions?
Oh, you already know it's happening.
It's happening.
Like, if you got him, start him in fantasy.
Yeah, I got Kenneth Gainwell, so I have to start him because all my guys died. So I can't catch a break. So I just want to see Kenneth Gainwell and Jalen Hurts do some things, and then in Devonta Smith, let's just see him get healthy. So we'll see. It's going to be Halloween. Hopefully, it's not too spooky for the Lions. Hopefully it's a trick and not a treat, or hopefully it's a treat, not a trick, that the Lions can get off the schneid and go to the bye week. I think everybody needs the bye week just to get away, talk about something else, look at something else. I mean, right now, it really is just kind of status quo, and you still got 9 games left, eight after the bye week. What are we going to talk about? I mean, you're going to go out there twice a week and just be like, it's against the Bears, it's against the Vikings, it's against the Packers. How important will it be to get a victory? I mean, even the guys you can kind of start to tell are just like, yeah, we're getting better. We have a good group of guys. I'm happy. The one thing, though, I will say, impressed that Sheila Ford Hamp did come out and speak to the media, called it a rebuild. But, like always, she had to drop in the fact that, if you read the whole thing top to bottom, right at the bottom, she's like, someone knew what exactly to say to me when they ran into me. They said that they love the rebuild and they love what they're seeing, and they renewed their season tickets for 3 years. Did you really have to include that in the end? Like, come on. You were there when it was bad. You were part of everything. You don't have to sell people and keep that kind of mantra going. Just put finally a winning product out there and not have all your best players go on IR. 15 players on IR. I like the transparency. I like that she's taken an approach to answer the tough questions. But, bottom line, you're going to have to answer. And if I was Sheila Ford Hamp, do not welcome Chris Spielman because the boos will be worse. do not welcome Chris Spielman. Let Herman Moore, let one of his teammates, let his family, let anybody, let the PA announcer, Dan Miller, anybody but one of the Ford families should not be out there for this weekend's celebration. And, I'm curious to see, because you could get a lot of booing part 2 at Ford Field, especially if it's a halftime score and it's not a good one. Oh, Halloween. Oh, my God. We'll see what happens, but I'm hoping they learn from their mistake. Or maybe she's a glutton for punishment. We shall see. Because this Saturday, 7-0 Michigan State, 7-0 Michigan. Two teams that really are like the mirror opposite of each other. They're going to clash, and it's great because the interesting storylines are, can the passing attack of Michigan take advantage of Michigan State's obvious weakness in the secondary? Will the defense of Mike McDonald and Michigan find a way to limit the explosive plays? Who gets the pressure? Who gets a turnover? Who blinks first? Whose rushing attack dominates? I'm very impressed by this game. It has the opportunity to be a classic. I like what Michigan's done going into it. They've said, hey, we're a running team, so it's going to be Corum and Haskins, and if you don't like it, tough shit. But the one thing, in my opinion, that has to happen is if Michigan State can get out to a 10 to 14-point lead, that will put Michigan in the most uncomfortable spot, because if you can force the Wolverines to abandon the run and force them to get into passing downs, obviously, we got to see if Cade McNamara can be the guy. So it's going to be great. I think that the bye week for Michigan State will help them have the ability to go for all 4 quarters. I'm just nervous that the biggest thing that worries me heading into it is, are they rusty after the bye? Because you can't afford to be sloppy and not ready to go once the whistle goes at 12:05. You got to go because Michigan's coming. And I feel like Michigan has something to prove. They have a bad taste in their mouth. They're coming in, even though they're coming in as the favorite, getting punked in their own home has definitely given this team a different swagger. They look like a different team and a different swagger, and it's going to be really just a fascinating look at 2 college programs banging heads. You can't say either way. I feel a little bit of disrespect that the line opened up at Michigan +4. I hope that, or Michigan -4. I hope that potentially that Mel Tucker and the crew can take all the disrespect that, even though they've had the maybe better quality of wins, that the national media and the betting line started off with Michigan as the favorite on the road. So I hope that's I hope it's a competitive game. Best part is I applied for a credential and they said, yeah, I thought I would certainly be an odd man out. So I'm having a football smorgasbord on Saturday, and then I'm going to party with you. So it's great. If it's a victory, I'll be the happiest guy at the party. If it's not, I'll be Sully Sal at the party, but maybe I'll just wear a mask and just sit in the corner and be like that sad puppy dog. But I'm hoping it's a good win. I'm hoping I'm going to be there. I don't have to pay anything. I'm going to tailgate in the morning with a buddy I haven't seen in a minute, so it's going to be a great Saturday. Hopefully it's not raining, but it's going to be mano a mano because it's Harbaugh versus Tucker, McNamara versus Peyton Thorne, mano a mano. Let's see what happens. And it's just really a great look at 2 teams that are just really similar. I'm excited to see it. I'm really obviously going to be rooting for Michigan State. It's the one game that my nerves are the worst, but I think going to it will allow me to kind of just settle in and just watch it and see what happens.
I mean, these teams, like you said, they are carbon copies of each other. The thing is, I feel like they're both frauds. And I say that because, I don't know, I look at both of these rosters and I see huge holes on both teams. That being said, I think they're both arguably the second best team in the Big Ten. And I don't know what that says about the Big Ten because a week ago you had, 5 teams in the top 10? So I have no idea what to make out of this college football season because I don't believe in Michigan and I don't believe in Michigan State. And how Michigan opens up as a 4-point favorite traveling to East Lansing makes no sense to me. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Like, Michigan hasn't done anything all year where you're like, oh yeah, that's it. That's the team. That's what we need. That right there. You beat up on basically some really bad teams in the Big Ten. Michigan's non-conference wasn't much better. As far as Michigan State goes, you played pretty much all of the same teams that Michigan has played, and you too have beat up on bad teams in the non-conference. both these programs were lucky to escape Nebraska, which I don't think either one of us think they're very good. They're a very good team. It's Northwestern was like everybody's get right game. The only problem is Michigan State played them to open their season. Michigan played them last week, and it just kind of, I don't know. It just like, to me, it feels like somebody took a poop in their pants. It's gross, and it's what it is. So I'm not really sure what either one of these teams are yet. And I'm hoping that once this game is done and over with, and to be honest with you, I'm just hoping for a very good game. I'm hoping for no injuries, no rain. I'm looking for no excuses. I want these teams to just line up and go at it. I don't want to be able to see you later on in the evening and you be like, oh, well, our quarterback went out, or, oh, our running back got hurt, or, oh, it rained. And I don't want to look at you and be like, oh, well, Jim Harbaugh. So I don't want any of that. I just want a really good game. Best man wins. That's what I want when it's all said and done. And I think once this game is done, we'll have a little bit more clarity as to who's going to be Ohio State's bitch. Be like, who's going to be the runner-up to Ohio State. And I think when it's all kind of said and done, this game could be the deciding factor for who gets to go play in a Rose Bowl, which makes me feel really, really dirty. Like, I don't know how that makes you feel, but growing up as a kid, Rose Bowl was kind of like the highlight. Like, you played hard, you got to that game, that was like, you made it. That was the mountaintop. And you had to be really good, and you had to basically win the Big Ten. Now it feels like it's a consolation prize, and I feel like that's a bit of an issue. I don't know. To me, it feels like both these teams are fraudulent. Neither one of them can contend with Ohio State. I'm hoping for a good game, though. I think we'll get one. I just don't want any excuses. I don't want any reason to see you and you be like, oh, X, Y, and Z, and I'll just be like, zip it. I don't want any of that. I do.
Well, here's the thing I'll say in regards to being fraudulent. Okay, this is still year 2 for Mel Tucker, so he overhauled. He used the transfer.
Oh,
portal.
I think it's been very impressive what he's done.
Yes.
It's been incredibly impressive. Like, let's not take anything away from him.
Absolutely.
He's done a fantastic job.
Exactly. So for Jim Harbaugh, I think it is a must-win because of the fact that you're still trying to get back a huge chunk of the fan base that's hopped off. They don't even care about Michigan State anymore. They're like, just can you compete against Ohio State? This is year 6, 7 of your regime, and you're still talking potentially about a quarterback that's a game manager that can't throw the football down the field. So in my mind, I think it's a must-win game, and I think it's a game that even if Mel Tucker loses, can weather. I don't think Jim Harbaugh can weather a loss to Michigan State, especially where he's at. When you had your salary cut in half, when everybody's kind of talked about you being a coach that kind of you feel stuck with, that's not the kind of talk you want. You want to be able to, when the new guy comes into town, get a win in the first couple years. So I'm fascinated to see how this goes. I want to see if Mel Tucker can execute some razzle-dazzle. Will it be a Kenneth Walker performance? Will it be Reed? Will it be someone else that steps up in regards to the defense? But, man, it's just the way in which I see this game shaking out is who's going to take advantage and punch. But I'm getting a sense that right now a lot of people are viewing this as a game that Michigan has the edge on offense because of the two running backs and the ability to kind of go on the offensive line. So I'm curious to see how it plays out. I'm curious to see if Michigan State can go 2-0 with Mel Tucker because of the rumors now with Tucker to LSU and all that good stuff. It's just amazing, and credit to, like I said, Mike McDonald, credit to Michigan for being 7-0, even though, here's the thing, and it's something that I'm curious to get your sense of. Do you think Michigan will be stubborn and just utilize Cade, or will JJ get in the mix, or will there be some wrinkles that Michigan pops out here for Michigan State that maybe could surprise Mel Tucker, or are they going to say, we're putting the ball in our running back's hands and try and stop it?
I think if you're Jim Harbaugh, this game right here should bring out your absolute best. I know you want to beat Ohio State. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. This game right now is the most important game of the season. This game right now has the ability to send your season into a tailspin if you can't get a win. This right now is absolutely a must-win game for Jim Harbaugh. Has to. I don't know how you rebound from a loss to Mel Tucker again. Mel Tucker just moved into the state. I think he's still putting up wall decorations at his house. And he came in here and he de-pantsed you last year. Absolutely filleted you with Rocky Lombardi as his quarterback. That was a team that he inherited that basically had the talent level of trash cans and road cones and road barrels. Okay. And he was able to beat you. If you're not putting in wrinkles, you're not thinking about using J.J. McCarthy. If you're not looking at somehow letting Cade McNamara go, if you're not coming up with some intricate, exotic play designs for Blake Corum, who I think is your best running back on this team, I think Haskins is he's just a guy. I think he benefits from a good offensive line and being handed the ball 20 some odd times to rack up 100 yards. It's bananas to me. Blake Corum, obviously the most explosive out of the two. If you're not coming up with specific, crazy, unique play designs and plays to beat Michigan State, then I don't know what the hell you're doing here. I didn't want you here as the head coach when the season started. And if you can't figure out a way to execute and to beat Michigan State this year, you really shouldn't be here at all. Like, the game has obviously passed you by. Your message just isn't getting across to your team if that's the case. And your scope of what this rivalry game is obviously distorted. So, yeah, for me, they better come up with some really cool stuff, some gimmicky things, some things that actually work when you execute them on offense, because I'm expecting Mel Tucker's absolute best game. Like, what I don't think a lot of Michigan players or Michigan fans or maybe even the head coach of Michigan gets. For MSU, this is the Super Bowl. This is the game. This is the one that they get up the most for. And if you yourself can't get up and match that intensity, then get the hell out of here. Because all they're going to do is they're going to walk all over you. All they're going to do is walk all over you. I know me and you don't talk a lot about betting, and I don't do a whole bunch of gambling myself because a couple of things. One, I'm afraid that I might have a gambling problem. My father actually does, so I don't like to mess around with it too much. But if I had money that I was willing to waste and to put up, I would take Michigan State and the points.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is going to be an absolutely close game. I think it's going to be a nail biter.
Absolutely. I do indulge in betting. I've doubled my money. So obviously, in my rule of thumb is no bets more than $20. So that's how I've done it. I've script and scramped, listened to all the free advice out there. There's so much good and nothing more. And I put my $11 down on Michigan. I got Michigan State +4. So that's it.
What do you get? What do you win if you put you said you bet $11? What do you get back?
22, baby. Double your money.
That's not bad. Double it up.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Exactly. So that's what I did. And look, it's nothing. And the blessing is I've won. The blessing is so far is that they give you a lot of free bets. So I parlayed an NBA bet with the Knicks and the over in that game that went to overtime with the Celtics. Was awesome. It was awesome. I was hoping that the Knicks would win it, and they did. And so turned 20 into 90, and that got me now to double my money. Put in $250 and I got 500 bones in the account. So that's what I'm doing. Just making $10 bets here and there, and it's for strictly entertainment. And that's the way I'm approaching it. There's so much free advice on the radio and everybody doing it. So you can, it's like I said, that's how you want to do it. And the biggest piece of advice I would give to any young gamblers, stop with the parlays. Unless you hit one early, it's a sucker bet. You're not going to, you think you're good enough to win one bet. How are you going to try to win 5? Come on. Yeah, everyone loves to turn 5 into 1,000, but how many times are you going to put 5, 5, 5, hoping for 5 different things to happen? Come on. Start off your bankroll respectfully and try to bet favorites and bet the odds. And good luck with everybody out there. Yeah, bet responsibly. It's like I said, it's fun. It keeps things interesting. But yeah, as long as you have a limit, yeah, stay away from it. It's not something you have to do, because sports in and of itself competitively can get your juices flowing as much as you need it to be. So I'm going to ask you, call your shot. I think it's going to be very close, but Michigan State has enough offensively and defensively and being at home. If this game with these two teams was in Ann Arbor, I would say it's Michigan. So this game I think is going to be 27-24 with Michigan State holding on barely. I think that Michigan might have the ball late, and Cade McNamara might be called upon to make that third down throw, which gets batted down by one of the defensive backs of Michigan State to prove everybody wrong that the narrative that they suck is not, in fact, true. So 27-24 Michigan State. you know it, that you know I was going to pick Michigan State. So I hope it goes down. I'll be in attendance to witness it in person. Who you got? What do you think?
I told you this a couple weeks ago. I think Michigan State's going to beat Michigan.
Yeah, baby.
I think it was during the Nebraska game. I told you that.
Yeah.
Nothing has really swayed the way I feel about this. I think it's going to be a close game as well. I don't even know if Michigan was in Ann Arbor, if that would make a difference. But I do think it's going to be a close one.
Tuck is coming.
I think it's. I think where Michigan's strength lies is with that defense, and especially along that defensive front.
Yes.
Basically, that front seven, I feel like, is where they make a huge impact. Now, how does that match up with MSU and their offense? If you can remove the run game from Michigan State, it's not like that completely derails their offense. They've got the ability to hit you with big strikes and long plays down the field with their quarterback to wide receiver play. So I don't know. And I've not been really impressed by the secondary of Michigan. Like I said, I've been more impressed by the front seven than the back four. But I'm going to go Michigan State here. And again, Michigan's offense, besides running ground and pound, that doesn't do everything for you. You've got to be able to throw a couple balls. And I don't know how Cade McNamara has done nothing this season to really make me confident in his ability to pass the ball. So whether it's play design or what, there's nothing there for me to really believe in that. Now I'm hoping Michigan wins, but the way I see it playing out, very similar to you. I think it's a very close game. I think it's going to be one of those ones where it is 21-17.
Yeah. 2 predictions for Michigan State. Make sure you stay tuned to SI All Lions as we put up the coverage there as well. We'll have a prediction, so Adam will send it there as well. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. I can't wait for this weekend, a football weekend, Halloween weekend. We'll see how it plays out, and make sure you tune in to Doc and Jock for all the highlights, the recap of everything that goes down this weekend in the world of Detroit sports. Maybe even Cade Cunningham makes his debut. Maybe even Lucas Raymond continues to put the puck in the net, which has been amazing. So a lot of good stuff going on in the world of Detroit sports. Make sure you stay tuned to Doc and Jock as we break it all down in our own unique way. Thanks, cuz. I look forward to the next episode of the Doc and Jock. Thanks, cuz. I look forward to the next broadcast of Doc and Jock.